Yeah.
This is what's scary about the Democrats winning. Do you know about the Great Reset?
We talked about this a little bit earlier. I don't think we had an in-depth conversation.
Do you know about the Great Reset?
No, tell me.
Can you Google search Great Reset?
Yeah,
World
I have that
Economic
article,
Forum?
I think, from the
I
Time
have heard
thing.
of this.
I'll pull it up for you.
The World Economic Forum is basically saying that like COVID is an opportunity to reset global capitalism
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, fantastic. That's great.
under intersectional values.
That's good. Good. I'm really glad to hear that. That's exactly.
But I'm not.
So
I'm just joshing around. I'm very unhappy about that.
it's funny because if they didn't put it on their website and I said this, they'd be like, Tim Pool's a crazy conspiracy
making it up.
crackpot.
I'm still
I'm
saying
like,
it.
Yep.
It's
I
literally just the Great Reset. Here you go. Check it
Oh,
out. World
man.
Economic Forum, the Great Reset.
Oh my gosh.
Let me check this.
So there's an urgent need for global stakeholders to cooperate in simultaneously managing the direct consequences of the COVID-19 crisis to improve the state of the world. The World Economic Forum is starting the Great Reset Initiative. It's kind of like an ominous name for something.
That's unbelievably creepy. I mean, how and isn't there a fun irony in like people associating capitalism as it's referred to in this context to free markets, and yet this is literally the definition of a planned economy. Like you cannot
Right.
reset a market. That's not how it
Well,
works.
they have historically. The Greeks actually reset their economy when the inflation got too crazy. They were just like,
And so did Venezuela.
we're saying no to debt. They reduced all the debt to zero and started over. Like, could you
And
imagine?
do you know what Venezuela did? They issued a
know.
new currency. It was called like the Bolivar Fuerte.
So the
in
banks,
Venezuela. Oh,
the Bank of International Settlements releasing crypto. I mean, they're basically going digital.
I
This is
think this Bitcoin's going to become astronomically valuable. Like you hear these people. I'm not going to give a hard number because I don't know. But listen, I hear people saying like Bitcoin's going to hit 28K soon, and they're always giving these big numbers like Bitcoin's going sky high. Bitcoin is an international trade medium, a digital asset that can be transferred instantly, and it's the perfect tool for a store of value. Considering we're in digital spaces, we're doing things remote, we've locked everything down, and it can travel instantly across borders.
And you can't print as much of it as you want.
So
no, exactly. There's a finite amount.
It's the perfect medium for some kind of international store of value. And I think with this Great Reset, whatever they end up doing with it, they're kind of vague, but they do talk about, just like intersectionality. They have a bunch of articles.
God.
Yeah, here's a question I have for you, Tim, based on what I'm reading on the World Economic Forum, which I assume would just be a solid resource for learning about econ.
Yeah.
What is intersectionality, and how can it help businesses tackle diversity and inclusion?
Exactly.
What a great question.
And here it is from the World Economic Forum website.
Oh, cool.
And she's
Beautiful.
painting her eyelids with rainbows.
She's
Very
painting her
important.
eyelids with rainbows.
Oh, God.
The diversity and inclusion battle will only be won when people are seen as multifaceted in their social identities.
Intersectionality,
Intersectionality.
beautiful.
Intersectionality is a way of understanding how and why every individual's view of the world is different. From
But how
disability,
different is it allowed to be?
From disability to race
Not
to
very.
age inclusivity, none should be tackled in isolation. Inclusion means everyone all the time, not some people some of the time. I think it would be really great if they talked to the American intersectionals about, white people,
Yeah.
because then they could hear this and be like, oh, wait, we're not supposed to treat people that way. It's your own ideology, man.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So this the crazy thing is that we have these Democrats that are locking everything down. And I wonder to what extent you have Democratic governors who like this idea of intersectionality, Black Lives Matter, and the Great Reset. And I wonder how much of what they're doing may be motivated by the World Economic Forum talking about
And
wanting
they
to do
mentioned age. So you think this is a bunch of 90-year-old wealthy people
Yeah,
that
well, no,
plan on
actually-
living till they're 6,000, and
I
they're
mean-
like, now's the time to get it in their minds.
Speaking of age, though, people talk about income inequality as though we just have these fixed brackets in the United States, but the reality is it's unbelievably fluid. And one of the number one drivers of income inequality is age. Like if you
Right.
correct for age,
Yeah.
income inequality, I wouldn't say entirely evens out, but it's reduced greatly. It's just people who work
Dude.
more and have worked for, in their industry a longer amount of time and have more experience are just wealthier than people who haven't worked
This is
as long.
actually this is actually crazy. I was reading something about this. It looks I could be wrong. I was just reading some stats. It seems like wealth inequality among millennials is insane.
I can see it.
How
Nuts.
so?
Like there's a small tiny bit of millennials who are extremely wealthy, and then the most are extremely poor. Like the average. I think this is what I saw. The average net worth of the average net worth of a millennial is $11,000, but the median is $75,000.
Wow.
What is the median exactly? How
The
does-
median is just the middle from the highest to the lowest.
Oh, okay. Not
the
accounting
av-
for how many there
and
are.
And then the average is the all of them together
Wow.
divided. So the average is really low, but the median is like 7 times higher. So there are millennials who are super wealthy, well off. I mean, maybe it's a YouTube thing.
YouTubers. It's just YouTubers.
Think about-
it's the only
parents-
millennials making any money are
Well, so-
YouTubers,
so-
and everyone else is just screwed.
Why is it that
Yeah.
so many millennials are commies or socialists?
That's true.
Why?
This is why.
Yeah,
'Cause they're
makes
poor.
perfect sense.
But dude,
And then the small
listen,
percentage that are conservative are just the really rich ones who's like,
Yeah,
oh, actually,
okay.
these principles make more sense.
or just
Yeah, exactly.
having a net worth higher than $11,000.
Yeah, that'll do
I
it.
mean,
That'll
think-
make you not a communist, is having a net worth more than $11,000.
Well, think about if you inherit something from your parents, the family business,
Yeah.
stake in the family business, you're already worth
Makes
more.
sense.
Yes.
So that's something we should probably look up. I wonder if conservatives have a higher net worth than liberal
Oh, I have
millennials.
no doubt.
Well,
I would
I know
be very
that-
surprised if it wasn't that way.
There was a video I did on this a while ago for the Foundation for Economic Education, which, if you'd like, we started a new YouTube channel, the Foundation for Economic Education. It's called Common Sense Soapbox with Seamus Coughlin. But we did a video a while ago on income inequality, and we did a video on inheritance taxes. And the way it shakes out, inheritance taxes actually make income inequality worse because poor people are more likely to inherit their wealth, or they inherit a larger percentage
interesting.
of their wealth than do the rich.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because why is that?
But it's in a well, so a lot of actually a lot of inherited wealth is like inherited businesses, so like farmland and such. And when you have an inheritance tax, like it really hurts farmers, the people producing our food, who are exactly like
Important.
who you don't want to hurt, but who for whatever reason Marxists just have this tendency to screw over, which is one of the reasons their economies never work. But yeah, it just happens to be the case that poor people are more dependent upon intergenerational wealth than the rich are.
and that's because the rich parent will make their kids wealthy before they die.
I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what the explanation is. I just know it shakes out such that poor people inherit a larger percentage of their net worth than do the rich.
I think that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
the poor parents won't be able to give their kids anything until they
Right.
die.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
Well, but think about what wealth is, right? So just because, let me stop. If a poor person owns a house worth $50,000 in the middle of nowhere,
Yes.
that means the wealth of the child is the $50,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas somebody who earns their money is going to be worth way more than that if
Right.
they become wealthy. So they're earning their income through industry, but the average person earns their value through having it passed down, generation to generation. So I'm actually, this is why we have commies now. This is why millennials are all for Bernie and whatever, even though he's in favor of the billionaires, or I guess and I look, I gotta say, I don't blame all of the millennials. Some of them are more responsible than others.
Yeah.
But think about what happened to this generation. I remember when I was growing up, they said, go to college. And I said, why? And they said, so you can get a good job. And I said, why do I need a job? To make money. Can't I just make money?
Yeah.
So I remember I read this article from an economist who said it's a terrible investment. Imagine going to an investor and saying, for $40,000, after 4 years, you will owe $40,000 plus interest. And they would laugh in your face. What do I have to show for it? Piece of paper. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I ultimately was like, I'm not going to do it. But millennials all go to college because their parents are like, you have to. And I've talked to a ton of my friends all throughout the years, and they keep saying my parents are making me. And I'm like, dude, you're an adult. Like you're 19 years old. And like, well, I live at home with my parents. They'll kick me out. So kick you. Go get a job. What are you doing?
Well, this is interesting. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say that this is intentional, but the way it shakes out the entire student loan crisis, as well as the fact that college education is as expensive as it is, and the entire infrastructure we have built around higher education is a massive handout to the corporate world, because what a college degree allows you to do is determine whether or not somebody would be a suitable worker for your company, so you don't really have to go through as much of a trial period with them. If someone has a degree, they probably are a more promising worker. But that person spent the money. I mean, this is what they are more
That's what
likely
they
to hire
think,
people
yeah.
with degrees.
Sure,
yeah.
sure, but I
no,
disagree
no,
with
I
that.
no, I 100% agree
Yeah.
that logic can be flawed, but for the most part, employers do find knowing whether or not a person is college educated to be very useful in their desire to employ. And so they're almost like these litmus tests that people are paying for on their own to pursue these careers. And then on top of that, when you're massively in debt, you are more dependent upon your employer. You're less likely to strike or go off on your own
Yep.
and
True.
work for another company.
Yeah.
So even though, and it's funny because where did it all come from? Well, it came from the desire to help poor people. We should make sure that everyone can get an education. So what we're going to do is federally subsidize student loans so that anyone can take out a loan and then anyone can get a college education. And look what happened.
Look at the housing
Colleges
crisis.
decided, well, exactly, because and according to the National Bureau for Economic Research, pretty straightforward conclusion they came to, but it's always good to actually cite a reputable think tank. They said that colleges respond to federal subsidies by increasing their tuition.
Yeah.
It's really straightforward. And so, yeah, it started as let's help poor people. Let's help them get an education. Education's a great thing. And it resulted in this massive dystopian nightmare where almost everyone in our generation is unbelievably in debt. And who is it helping? It's helping the rich.
I used to have a lot of people hit me up about traveling the world and covering news when I was doing it. Now I get people hitting me up about YouTube and stuff. But
Yeah.
so back in the day, when I was at Vice and everything, people would be like, I want to do what you do, man. Like, oh, I want to travel around. And I usually complain that millennials don't actually want to do the work.
Yes. I've seen your video on this.
So I've talked about how, like, I've had people say, well, I mean, I don't want to spend the money. Like, I have a really nice apartment in Brooklyn. And I'm like, what's more important? Going to, I don't know, Ukraine for this crisis and covering it and being there, or having your nice apartment in Brooklyn? But I like my apartment in Brooklyn. Okay. The other thing, though, is that a lot of people said, I have student loan debt. I'm like, can you quit your job right now, take your savings and fly? I mean, I could, but how am I going to pay my student loans back?
Yep.
Can you defer them? Like, but then the interest is going to get really bad. And it's like, okay, well then congratulations. You signed your soul away for what?
This is exactly how they get you. They put you in this cycle where you start out where you owe this massive student loan and they keep you in your work forever, just forever. You just sign a contract for the rest of your life to just be like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. They do 100%.
I deferred mine for 20 years. I'm still in deferment. I just never want to pay those back.
You can't do anything about it. You can't bankruptcy.
Keep deferring it.
He's just banking on the whole system collapsing
Yes.
before he has
He's
to pay his
ready.
debt off.
Yeah.
Let's just
Gonna
wait.
make it
Let's
happen.
wait
It's my
until
lowest
the election
priority.
is over.
I got to be honest.
The
I got to be honest. His investment is about to pay out in
Yeah,
spades.
man.
Yeah, this is
Just
hilarious.
like November 4th, and I'm good.
I know.
Sweet.
That's the entire, like, we all think we're worried about the election. Ian has his entire financial future riding on it.
Love
It's like, if this
My
happens.
plan was
We
to
got
bankrupt.
this.
I graduated in 2001, and I was going to bankrupt my student loan debt.
You can't do that.
But George Bush in like 2003
Right, yeah.
made it illegal.
Cannot
made it
bankrupt your student
impossible.
loans.
Yep.
You got to keep them. Well, yeah, and I guess, like, they can't repossess a degree, so that's the brilliance of it. You could never, ever, ever default on those
I was
loans.
in a unique college situation where it was worth it, I think. Even though I've been in debt, I've never really stressed too much about it. It's always been in deferment. I owe more than I borrowed
Yeah,
21 years ago. But I had a phenomenal experience in college. I went to become an actor, a journalist, and then I switched to become an actor. I was acting, so I was like kind of paying to be there to learn how to act. I met a phenomenal friend, a beautiful girlfriend, and it launched my confidence. And so it was a hands-on degree. It wasn't like I went to study some business knowledge that I could have learned elsewhere. It was actually like acting. Like I had a job to do. It gave me an opportunity.
100. I don't doubt that good things came out of your college experience, but great things have come out of a lot of people's college experiences, and the system just set up in a way where you ended up getting screwed because of
Dude,
it, right?
the
I mean, it's
debt is
unbelievably expensive.
insane.
My dad paid for his entire college education. This is like the typical boomer story, but my dad paid off his entire college education working at Jewel over the
Yeah.
summer.
But what tuition's way lower back then?
No, that's no. I'm not saying like go
Like
work at
proportional.
Jewel, Ian, but I am saying that it was so unbelievably cheap back then that you could actually do that, which
Do
is
people-
that's completely out the window now.
Do people know what Jewel is?
Jewel Oscar, do they not have that? Is that just a
Chicago
Chicago thing?
thing,
That's
yeah.
right. That's
Jewel,
hilarious. They
yeah.
might actually not know. I went down to the jewelry and got some old styles.
Hold on. Save-On, Safeway.
Safeway.
What's
Ralph's?
I know
Dominic's is Dominic's just like
Dominic's
Chicago?
Chicago thing.
Acme?
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious, dude. Our whole
Dominic's.
audience says Tim and I are the only people who know any of this.
Dominic-
Safeway?
people.
Is that New York?
Safeway.
I know Safeway. Yeah.
What's the Ralph's is what they
Yeah,
have?
Ralph's is California.
Yeah,
Los
yeah. What does
Angeles.
New York have?
There's
New York has
Aldi's.
COVID-19 and nothing else.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
kinda-
They've got those
He's
really,
right.
really thin aisles. Those
You know what I-
It's
you
not
know-
good for social distancing.
No, it's
That's
not.
why it got so bad there.
Did
The
you go to
aisles are too
college?
thin. I did go to college.
What was your degree and set up in debt?
Yeah, so
ratio?
no, I was unbelievably privileged. I mean, I did community college for 2 years, but yeah, my parents took care of the rest, and I was not going to go to college, but my plan was just to like keep working and enter the industry and continue to build my business. And my parents said, no, we really want you to go. And I said, that's an unbelievable gift that most people don't get. So I'm going to do that. And I'm forever grateful to them. And I continued working on my business for the 2 years that I went away to, the school I went to, which was the Savannah College of Art and Design. And by the time I graduated, my enterprise was making enough money for me to just live off of.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.